You're going to have to be your own doctor. You're going to have to do everything for yourself because nobody's going to do it for you.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to tell you about the black box warning. Everybody points the finger at somebody else. Oh, doctors don't know about that. The pharmacist should have known. This person should have known. Well, nobody knew in my case, okay? And if you research, just a quick Google search, yes, it says there's issues with fluoroquinolones, but you really, really have to dig and go into the FDA documents to see how dangerous these antibiotics are. I wish that I had not stayed in the Western medical system after I got sick because they made me sicker. My name is Talia Smith and I have fluoroquinolone toxicity and mast cell activation, and I'm on Hospice Save My Life.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're back again. Another episode of Hospice Saved My Life. Today we're here with Talia Smith. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And we're in Boston.
Yep.
Is this is considered Boston?
Pretty much, yeah.
Pretty much Boston. And this was one of those stories. I've been following you for, it really hasn't been that long, if we're being honest. You kind of just got started. You started talking about your disease, and next thing you know, boom.
Yeah.
Everything blows up.
Yeah.
But where does it start? Where are you actually from?
I'm from Taunton, Massachusetts. Most
Where is
people
that?
say Taunton.
Who says that? You?
Taunton. That's how you say Taunton when you're from Taunton. But it's Taunton, Massachusetts. That's like, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes south from here.
Okay.
So I was born and raised there and went to school there, and yeah.
Mom, dad, siblings. What's your family dynamic like?
I have one sister named Kristen. Mother and father, they are divorced. So I lived with my mother till I was like 15, 16, and then lived with my father after that.
Okay. And this was did you ever leave Boston at all? You just been here forever?
I never leave Boston. No.
Boston has, in my opinion, and I was just telling you this, the most diehard sports fans people have ever talked about.
Yeah.
But I see it's not even just about sports. It is, I am diehard Boston.
Yeah.
Like you never want to leave.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I know. When I moved out of my house, my dad's house, and I moved to Attleboro, my dad was so upset. He's like, "You're going to Attleboro?" I'm like, "It's 20 minutes away." It was like nobody leaves Taunton, nobody leaves where we grew up. But yeah.
So what about school? So do you go to school there? You go to high school? You go to college?
I went to high school in Boston. I went to college in Fall River and Bridgewater at Bridgewater State University. So still local. And I just commuted. I work full time.
Okay.
When I went to school. So
what did you study?
I studied computers, technology management. So I have a master's in information technology.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't talk about that on anything.
No.
Why not?
I don't know. I feel like it's not me anymore. It is though.
Yeah.
I still have that drive and what took me up the corporate ladder. You know, I had a really good job before all of this happened to me. I managed a large team. I worked directly with the SVP of my company, and I got lots of promotions. Like I did very well, and I was very confident. I think that's the thing. And then once I got sick, all my confidence went out the window. So I kind of leave like that part. I miss it. I think that's why I don't talk about it either, because I wish I was there.
What were you doing?
Times. Basically, I managed an application in IT that the whole company used for financial management.
So this was what, from 25 to 40? What is part of your life?
Oh, before I basically did the same thing at every job I went to.
Okay.
So like 18 till 41. So that's when I got sick and had to leave the workforce. And at my last job, I was there 10 years.
Okay. And I also found out today that you're married.
Yes.
And this is what, year 12, Tim? Is that right? Year 12?
Year 12.
So when this is now, how old are you now?
45.
45. So you're married at 33?
You do the math? Yeah.
How and where you are now, coming from where you are now, before we get into your diagnosis, talking about life before that, right? You were working, you had regular every day, you were married. Did you have any children?
2 stepchildren, yep.
How old are they?
Now they are, oh my God, 23, 21.
Is that right, Tim? That's right.
I kind of lose track of time in this little bubble, but 23, 21.
Well, and this is your bubble, but this is your home.
Yeah.
This is your home, and this is a 1 bedroom.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like, no, 2, but this is the living room, so 1 bedroom. Yes.
You'd be surprised. Most people actually do put their hospital beds in the living room.
Yeah.
The majority of people actually do.
It's bigger, and she can sleep next to me.
Who is she?
Layla. My bestie.
Layla's the best, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
We're talking about being a caregiver. Layla is the best. How long have you known Layla?
Well, we talked about this the other day, 10 years. So she knew me long time before I got sick, and she took care of my husband. And then when I got this sick, like I said earlier, I stole her. So now she's been with me for the last 4 years.
And when you say sick, how long have you been sick now?
Since April 2021.
So about 4 years. So yeah, when you were 41.
Yeah.
And what was she doing? You say you've known her for 10 years though. Mm-hmm. What was she doing before that?
She was taking care of my husband.
She was his same situation, caregiver.
Yep.
Just he needed what you would call total care, same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wow.
She used to come in and take care of him in the morning, and then I would take care of him the rest of the day. So. And
that was after you got back from work, I'm assuming.
Or during COVID, just working and taking care of him. Because we were working from home 24/7, so the work never ended when we were working from home. So.
Yeah, and how did you get here? So what happened? How can you walk me through what brought you here? Because here we are, we're in this 1 bedroom apartment. It's pretty much set up almost like a hospital room.
Yeah.
For the most part, this is pretty much like a hospital room. You got your hospital bed, you're in your wheelchair, you got your TV, a couch for Layla.
Yeah.
You don't have a dog or a cat or anything?
No.
Most people do. They have at least a cat or something, right?
Yeah.
You don't do animals?
No.
Okay. So, but what got you here? What brought you to this place? How did we get here?
Like how I got sick or how I got in this apartment?
How'd you get sick first?
Okay. So, I like to start out by saying, because every time I say I had a UTI, everybody says, oh, she had recurring UTIs. That's why they gave her Cipro. I did not have recurring UTIs. I was healthy. I never went to the doctor unless it was for my annual checkup. And then just out of the blue, I got a UTI. I knew it was a UTI. Once you've had one, you know what they're like. And I called the doctor and I said, I have a UTI. I want to come in because, they want to prescribe you something right over the phone. Sure. I want to come in and do a urinalysis and a culture. And then, I'll take an antibiotic. So I did the test and it was positive, but it was a very low bacteria count. She said, typically we wouldn't even treat it, but since you're so symptomatic, we'll give you an antibiotic. So I got Cipro, and I was like, I don't know. I keep thinking back to that day. Like, what was it that made me feel that way to ask her? I was like, anything I should know about Cipro? Like, anything I need to be aware of? Because it also wasn't someone that took medication. Definitely didn't take antibiotics a lot. I was nervous, like what was going to happen. And I was told, nope, this medication is very safe and effective. There's nothing you need to be aware of. We give it all the time at our practice for UTIs. So I was like, okay. So I took the first pill right after that, was fine. Second pill was fine. I did not work out at all when I was taking this. That's another thing people say, because I worked out avidly before I got sick. And then on my third pill, I started getting pain everywhere in my whole body. And I was laying on the couch and I was like, my legs are killing me. That's what I was telling my husband. And then when I was standing, I was like, it hurts to even stand on my heels. My heels touching the floor. What the heck? He's like, oh, you did a lot today. You cooked, you cleaned. I'm like, yeah, but I always do. But maybe today I just did extra. But then as the day started going on, all of a sudden I got a twitching in my face. I'm getting this zapping in my head. My hands are feeling weird. Like, I now know it's called peripheral neuropathy. Mm-hmm. I was like panicking. Oh my God, what do I do? So I'm like, I have to take this fourth pill tonight. What do I do? Because it's every 12 hours. I'm supposed to take this pill. And I just couldn't take it. I was like, the only thing that's changed is this pill. Like, I don't believe an antibiotic could do this to me, but it's the only thing I can think of. So I did not take the pill. I put my husband to bed, excruciatingly painful to do that. I said, that was my mindset at the time. I'm going to go to bed. When I wake up, I'll be fine.
Sure.
And when I got up to step on the floor, I almost fell. I couldn't even stand. I could barely walk. I was limping so bad. And I said to my husband, I have to go to the hospital. He's like, what do you mean? I said, it's worse. I have to go to the hospital. I have no idea. So I go to the hospital and I told the ER doctor there, I said, you know, I've been healthy, but overnight, like I can't walk, like something happened to me. And the only thing that's different is I've been taking an antibiotic. He turns around, because he was writing, he turns around and he says, you taking Cipro? In that moment, oh my God, I got so hot. And he said to me, calm down, don't panic. Obviously, I had some look on my face because I knew if he was equating not walking with Cipro, I was in big trouble, like big trouble. And he said, have you ever heard of black box warning? No, what's that? So he explained to me what a black box warning was. It shouldn't be used for UTIs, like as first line. But don't worry, go home and take ibuprofen and you'll be fine. Ibuprofen is contraindicated with fluoroquinolones. I should not have done that. So while that doctor did know to some extent what he was talking about, he didn't know the full picture. And I went home and I rested like he said, take NSAIDs around the clock, and I was, because I was in so much pain, and I kept getting worse and worse. The burning, shooting pains, like the electrical zaps, choking, like probably on day 3 or 4, I was like wrong pipe every time I would drink something. I'm like, that's weird. What's going on with me? And then a couple weeks after, I woke up and I couldn't feel my arms. Oh my God, here I go back to the hospital again. They think I'm having a stroke. They test me for MS. No idea what's wrong. They say I have peripheral neuropathy. I need to go see a neurologist, rheumatologist. And I kept saying, I think I've been poisoned by Cipro. Like, that's the only thing I can think of. Nobody wanted to hear it. It's not in your system anymore, blah, blah, blah. From there, I started to realize that I wasn't going to get anywhere in the Western medicine system. I just knew it. I'm like, these people are... And so I started seeking out functional or naturopath or regenerative medicine doctors.
Sure.
And I found a functional neurologist who did like almost 3-hour exam on me. And she said, I'm going to test you for this and that. And when I went home, she contacted me 2 hours later and she said, remember all the things I told you? I said, yeah. She goes, forget it all. I said, why? She goes, you've been floxed. After I talked to my colleagues. I said, I've been what? She said, Floxed. Can you spell that for me so I can Google it?
Right.
And I Googled it and I saw, oh my God, when I saw all these stories of people in wheelchairs, and I'm like, no way, that's not going to be me. That's not going to be me. But what happened after that was so rapid. I was like a frequent flyer in the hospital. I was there all the time. You can talk to the people that like were around me back then to say like, they were like, you are drastically changing from week to week. What are you going to be like in a month? Like one day I'm showering myself standing up. The next week I have to sit down to do it. The next week I can't get my hands above my head. It was that fast. And then that's when the pajamas started. I couldn't get my hands up. Then I was just sitting like this in the shower chair. Then I was not being able to shower at all. Then I was not even able to sit on the toilet to pee, to bend down. Like my body was freezing. Like I say, like the Tin Man all the time. And then I started having all of these reactions to food and supplements that I had never had before. I'm like, I'm allergic to the world. I don't know what has happened to me. So my choices got smaller and smaller and smaller. So I would avoid all of these allergic reactions. I did not know what mast cell was. I'd never even heard of it before. And so my weight just, when you don't eat or even drinking, I was choking on water.
And what did they, when you say you're choking, so did they never said, hey, NPO, we're going to try a feeding tube. None of this never happened. So they just watched you lose weight.
Yep.
Did you ever, I mean, I don't know. You seem to be very knowledgeable about this. At no point did you say, hey, why don't we try a feeding tube, anything?
Every single time I was admitted, me and my husband talked about feeding tubes. And one of the leading teaching hospitals here in the country I went to, and the plan was if I hadn't gained weight or lost more weight in 5 days, I was going to get a feeding tube. So I said, okay, we have a plan here. On day 5, there was a swap out. That doctor finished their round and a new male doctor came in. And I said, okay, today's day 5. I'm going to be getting the feeding tube, right? Feeding tube? You're not getting a feeding tube. I was like, what? This is the plan we've been talking about for the last 5 days. Have you read the records?
Which should have been in the notes, correct?
Yeah. I have a new team of doctors that I think that should come see you. Guess what they were? Psychiatrists. They're like 5 of them came in my room. And I was like, no, this is not psychological. Like, I just had this doctor that was believing me and, taking me seriously. Now this guy comes in and is like, no feeding tube, you just need to eat. Here are the psychiatrists. And then he discharged me and I said, you're discharging me with no solution. I'm going to go home and I'm still not going to eat. I am going to die. He said, I know. I'm very sorry about that. Just like that. Yep.
This is a new doctor.
This is the ER doctor when I was admitted.
I'm sorry about that.
Yep.
How old are you at that time? 41?
Still 41.
41.
Or maybe 42. It was in the summer, so I probably just turned.
But all this happened within 12 months. Really 6 months. It almost seems like
5 months I was on
5
hospice.
months.
So this was all happening within 5 months.
But you were on hospice at this time?
No. I went on hospice literally like a few weeks after that.
How did that conversation get started?
When I went to the last hospital and asked for a feeding tube, and they said, no, come back when your organs are failing in 3 weeks again. And I said, no, just send me home. Like, I'm not doing anything. Just send me home. And then that's when hospice came in because they knew I wasn't going to be eating. I was 60 pounds and they call my doctor. The doctor calls the order in. The hospice team comes in and checks you out. And I was on hospice.
Were you familiar with hospice at all?
No.
It's your first encounter with hospice?
Yeah.
How was it explained to you? Did they really break it down for you?
I had no idea what was going to happen when I went on hospice. Sure. I just thought like hospice was going to come to my house and I was going to die in a week. Like from the stories that I hear, like so-and-so has 2 months to live, but they died 2 days after being on hospice. I'm like, oh, when you're on hospice, they give you morphine to kill you. Like these are things that people say about hospice. So I thought, oh boy, this is going to be a quick exit for me. And when they came to do the intake, they were the nicest people I had met the entire time. I was crying and they were like, why are you crying? Like, are you afraid of dying? Or no, I'm crying because you're so nice to me.
Finally.
Because you're listening to me. And it's the first time in all these months, in 5 months, that I felt seen and heard when I'm going to die. Why does it have to be like that? If any doctor had paid attention to me along the way or had like half of the empathy that hospice team had, I wouldn't have ended up in that situation. And they were like, this is all about you. This is all about your needs and what you want to make you comfortable. I was like, so confused. I was like, me? You care what I think? Okay, I don't know what I think now, you know? They were just the nicest team. And they explained to me, like, you get onto hospice if we think you have 6 months or less to live.
Sure.
We're here for comfort measures. You won't really go see any new doctors or anything. Like, we try to make you as comfortable as possible.
So then you go through this hospice, right? So they bring all these people in. Is this when the hospital bed comes, or this was pre-hospice?
No, everything came with hospice. The wheelchair, the tables, the oxygen tank, the bed. They came in like, whew, this whole crew and took over my whole house. All these supplies. I was like, wow, I just felt like this turned into a hospital in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Was that here or was that
at my house?
That was at your house.
At my house.
Okay, so you're at your house then. But we're not at your house anymore.
No.
We're at another spot.
Yeah.
How'd you end up here?
I ended up here because my house had a series of water leaks. And we know that there was mold there and there needs to be work that needs to be done. So my husband said, you need to get out. You're sick. If we want you to try to survive, like you have to go. You can't be here as they're demolishing the house or if there's mold, so go. That's why I came and he stayed back at the house. So. And
they put they set you up everything in here.
Well, they brought everything here. First I was there, then I came here. So they brought it all over here.
So not only did they listen to you and they cared for you, they even helped you relocate.
And when they brought my mattress, they popped a hole in it. So they came the next day, brought me a new mattress. So like, what else do you need? But let me tell you, when I was on hospice, like, the stuff that they would do is just so nice. Like, I had a sore that I got in the hospital from laying in bed, and they came every single day with saline to clean it and like show my aides how to do it. And are you in pain? Like, here's what you should do if you were in pain. And I was fighting the pain medication they were giving to me all the time. And they're like, no, Talia, you have to get ahead of it. Take the pain medication before so you're not screaming and crying by the time we get there. And they were just like, do you need any diapers? Do you need any cream? Do you need this? Always coming with these huge bags. Like, they just came from the grocery store. Every time they came to my house, it was... And this one nurse in particular, like, I just want to cry when I think of her. She's like, I'm not giving up on you, Talia. You're 41 years old.
Yeah.
I was like, listen to her.
Yeah.
And then at one time I started bleeding when I was peeing. I had a Folian so I wouldn't have to move, and I was bleeding. And they're like, we don't even typically do this on hospice, but we're going to run a urinalysis.
Sure.
And they're like, you have a urinary tract infection. You want some antibiotics liquid? I was like, hospice, this is not how I expected it to go. But that's what they did for me. They listened to me. They helped me. And
hospice has changed. So it's changed drastically, right? And I know originally 1980s, late 80s when it started, early 90s, we tell this story. It used to be a place you go and you just passed away.
That's what I thought.
I think most people still think that. And it has gradually become, and I'm going to tell you why, it has become this thing where we try to give you everything you need in your home. Two reasons. One, the hospital has what we call a mortality rate. And so that's a number of people, a percentage of people that actually pass away in the hospital. That number has to be as low as possible, or the government's going to flag the hospital, because the goal is to get you back home. So the other part of it is the government would rather pay, Medicare, insurance, whatever, rather pay a hospice company nothing compared to what they're paying a hospital to keep you in a hospital. And so they've extended the program. So when you talk about why you went on, you said 6 months. They give you a 6 month prognosis, if you will. And that way they can come take care of you. You're home. Did you go back and forth to the hospital at all?
Not when I was on hospice.
You just call because they're available 24/7.
Yeah.
So you go on hospice. You're on hospice for how long?
9 months.
Why'd you come off hospice? Oh, most people call it a hospice graduation. You have a graduation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the way they said it to me was, we know you're not okay. We know that you're not, like, you're not, like, self-sustainable, but you're not sick in the way that you need hospice. We don't think that you will not survive past 6 months. We think that that you're going to get better, and you should get a primary care physician and try to, like, resume treatment. So, because I'm like, you can't just leave me. I'm still a disaster. And they're like, we know, but where you were, this is what they tried to remind me, where you were, you couldn't even sit up.
Right.
You're sitting up right now talking to us. So although you're still not well, where you came from is a huge difference. And so I transferred to palliative care. I'm still on palliative care to this day. The palliative care I have, though, does not offer any services other than a palliative care team coming out to, like, check on me and coordinate things with me. Like,
how often do they come?
Once a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that is about, normally palliative care is going to be about once a month. I'm going to tell you the one thing that I'm going to ask you this, and we're not going to say the name of the company because I don't want to say the name of the company, but we're talking about hospice, and one of the things that hospice does for a lot of people are unwilling to really talk about it. Hospice really can't save your life because you're getting so much care from people who really understand specifically what you're going through, your specific diagnosis, in a place where you're comfortable, which is your home, right? Whatever home is for you. When they pulled out, but you're saying you weren't really back to your normal self. Did you have a decline immediately once they pulled out? What was that like?
No, I struggled a lot when they pulled out because I had to go back to the Western medicine system, and they did not know how to deal with someone that just came off hospice. Why are you taking these medications like I was a drug addict, right? Well, I was on them because I was on hospice, right? They really did make me feel like I was a drug addict. And they didn't know, like, what to do with me. Like, I'm like the doctor said, I've never had one single person that came to me after hospice, especially like your age. You know, I'm so young. And so it was really hard at the beginning, and them just like cutting meds off, and the palliative care team was trying to step in and help as much as they could. And I was doing okay till right before I moved in here. I got really sick again. I don't know why. I dropped a ton of weight. I was back down to 70, and they did
70 pounds?
Yeah.
From what?
I had like gone up to almost 80 at the time.
Okay.
And just this rapid decline. And the hospice team came back and asked me if I wanted to transfer back to hospice.
Okay.
So we actually had that discussion before I moved here, but I didn't. I just stayed on palliative care because the mindset I had on hospice, I didn't want to go back there. You know, it was like, and I was going to keep pursuing treatments, and when I was on hospice, I had to like, how do I describe this? The intake nurse, the
Sure.
really nice woman that came back to see me once I graduated,
Yeah.
and was crying and calling me a miracle.
Aww.
She said something that struck me when she said, you know, I've been a hospice nurse for 25 years, and oh, honey, I know what she meant. Like, you know, she's rubbing my hair. She's like, you're so young. I'm like, I know. And she said, have you felt the separation yet? And I was like, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa, that was such a strange question, but I knew exactly what she meant.
Mm-hmm.
Like the thing that you do somewhere internally, like you separate, like
Mm-hmm.
your body's here, you're here in a way to give yourself a peaceful exit. That's the way that I thought of it in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I said, oh my God, yeah.
Yep.
Like these people they just understood me.
They understand. And also the thing with hospice that maybe you can kind of attest to as well, is they're not in Western medicine is different. We talked about this a little bit before. It's a business. It's completely 100% a business. And I think the one part of all of this, which is hospice, which a lot of it really is still patient-centered care. And so that's what you felt. And so would you say that throughout that, do you remember the nurse's name by any chance?
I'd have to look it up.
I just wanted to give her a shout out.
I know. I can give a shout out to Adna. Adna is the one. That's not the intake nurse, but
Okay.
Adna was the one that was there every single day. I'm not going to give up on you, Talia, with my wound. I cried so bad when she left, but I cannot, and I'm so sorry if by some chance this woman is watching, I cannot remember the intake nurse's name. I just spent so much more time with Adna,
Yeah.
literally every single day.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, they're just phenomenal. And it's not just, it's like physically they're helping you, mentally, emotionally. They sent chaplains to my house, and the chaplain came as many times as I wanted and sat there and read to me, and the chaplain would bring me like, oh, here's Saint Rita for you. And it's just kept your spirits up. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, you know, when I was in the hospital, they just toss you in the bed and you get the little clicker in 2 hours and nobody comes there. Like nobody gives a crap.
Yep.
And here these people are every single day. Whatever is comfortable for you. If you need to lay down, we'll send the chaplain. Let me look at your wound, tell you you're doing great. Like it was just go, go, go. It's like I had a cheerleading team the whole time. Yeah,
and that's what it's supposed to be like. You talked about a chaplain. Are you religious at all?
I was raised very religious, yes.
What's very religious mean?
Church every week, confession every week, the rosary 3 times a day. So I think that's pretty religious.
I would agree.
Roman Catholic, and we went to a Portuguese church, so they're super strict.
So how did that affect? Are you still a part of that religion now, or do you have a different faith?
Oh, I was really into the church for a long time, and then I kind of like went my own way. And then my husband got into his accident, then back to the church I was.
Okay.
And then kind of separated again. And then when I got sick, back to the church I go. I think when you go through stuff like this, people can think of it one or two ways. Like, why, God, you put me through this? Or, oh, God, you're going to get me through this. I've been bouncing back and forth between the two.
Yeah.
You know, just pray to God, just talk to him. I am. Are you listening? Because it's 4 years. I'm still sitting here. I still believe in God, so I'm not saying anything bad like that. But I've been teetering back and forth between those emotions for the last 4 years. And I still have my faith and believe in all of that. I just got a lot of things that I struggle with in that area.
But is it the why me, right? Like, why is it me? Or what's the number one thing that kind of makes you question God, more or less?
Why am I still like this? More why me? And like, no matter how hard I try, I'm still here 4 years later, still like this. I don't mean here isn't alive, but also my grandmother like jammed it into my head, you know, what you give out, you get back. You're a good person.
Yep.
She said, especially like when my husband got hurt, she said, oh my God, you're a saint, Talia. You know, God has something good in store for you. She used to say that to me every day. God has something good in store for you. And then she got sick. And I took care of her on the weekends until she passed away. That was 3.5 years straight, every weekend. And I stayed with her to her last breath. And she said, God has something good in store for you. So I hear that in my head all the time, and I'm like, what is it?
Yeah.
It's not this. That, I think, messes with me the most. And it's what she said to me, not like what I learned in any religion. It's that she crammed that into my head.
What about the other? You don't have a tissue at all? What about the other side of it, though? The side where
Thank you. I think I somehow equated that if you were a good person, bad things couldn't happen to you. That's not true.
Well, no, that's not true. I can take it for you.
Thank you.
No, but there's also a part of, I once heard so I'm a Christian, I go to church pretty much every Sunday. And I heard a sermon about maybe a month ago. And it talked about lifting weights. And as you're lifting weights in that moment, you're like, man, this is tough. Bicep curls. Javier, he's got some muscles there, right? So you're doing bicep curls.
Oh yeah, look up there. Do you see my wall?
No, I didn't see
Go
it.
ahead.
So you're doing your curls over and over and over again. It's hard. You want to get a little bit more weight. You put a little more weight on there. It's hard. But at the end of that, if you do it correctly, if you do it at all, what you've gone through is going to make you so much stronger. And the first time you might have been lifting 20 pounds. Next week it might be 22 and a half, then 25, then it's 30. And the message was, no matter what it is, no matter what you're going through, it's to make you stronger for something else that's going down, that's going to happen to you in your life.
I do honestly believe that. I do. It's just hard when you live this day to day.
Yeah.
Because I do really feel like nobody should ever have to live like this and go through this pain. But I do understand where you're coming from. And I do believe that. And I tell myself that all the time. It's just hard as you're living this every day.
If just a little bit of me, when I first got your story, I gave it to a couple of our medical directors there in Atlanta. They had never seen anyone come back from it. But isn't that a testament to itself, right? The fact that you've come from, to be honest with you, less than 5% of people graduate from hospice anyway. They definitely don't graduate and consistently get better, right? So is there some positivity there where you can at least look and say, I am getting better, just not as fast as I might like to get better?
Yeah.
Does that help you at all? Is that something you think about?
It does. It does. It's just not fast enough.
It's not fast enough.
4 years. Oh my God. It's like I'm in prison. I always say that when I go to bed. Time to put me back to prison, back to jail. Because when I lay in bed, I can't move and I'm just stuck there. So, I mean, my husband knows he's the same way. When he's in bed, he can't move either. And he used to say that to me. Now I understand what he goes through. Isn't that even crazy? Like, the both of us sitting in wheelchairs. Like, I just thought I was invincible. I thought if I took good care of myself and ate healthy and worked out, that nothing could ever happen. And my husband kept saying, if anything ever happens to you, we are screwed.
Do you say it like that?
Yes, we are screwed. And me, what do I say? What's going to happen to me?
Right.
Look at me.
Yeah.
I'm so like the 30s and 40s is the best shape of my life. And I went from here to, thank you. So, yeah, I remember being on hospice, like, and I was like, remember, I'm thinking I'm going to die really quick when I get on hospice because of the stories that people have told me.
Yeah, no, it's
and when the woman showed up that night, she showed up with the packet. And I had a friend there with me. It wasn't Layla yet, but I had a very close friend. And she came with a packet of stuff. And it was like, this is what she takes here. All my medication was dissolved in water, or it was liquid, because remember my choking. And she came up like the schedule and what to do. And then she was like, when she passes, it just hit me so like, she said, when she passes, call us within an hour and we'll be here to like pronounce her and then help, with everything else. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. So, I was like, I need to have my last rites read. That was very important to me. I got the priest out here. I'm going to die really soon. Yeah. I picked my outfit I was going to wear in my coffin. Can you believe it? I picked my coffin, my readings. Who was going to do my readings? I thought this would make it so much easier on my husband because I'm going to go quick. This is what I'm thinking in my head. But I was doing, I say all that, but I was doing really bad. There's periods of time I don't remember. Like my stepchildren came to see me to say goodbye. My stepson's in the military and my stepdaughter was in college. My stepson was there for a week. All I remember him there for is the moments where he was holding my hand and singing Soft Kitty to me from Big Bang Theory. When someone's sick, you sing Soft Kitty to make them feel better.
Okay.
That's all I remember of an entire week. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
And my stepdaughter, I remember just a couple minutes with her. But I say the same story the whole time. My husband kept saying, hold on, Talia, hold on, the kids are coming. Because I was definitely nearing the end. Because people were saying, like, I was like, it's probably absent seizures, like going out into space. They're like calling me, moving me. I wasn't saying, I don't remember any of this.
Wow.
And I was starving to death. No water, no food. Like I didn't even have to pee. Like there was nothing in me. 4 weeks, no food, no water. Maybe a couple sips here or there, but I would choke. And then when my stepchildren came, I always tell this story. Like I had this little flicker still going because that's me. I never want to give up. But I physically didn't really have energy. Like I'm starving to death. And when they came, I'm like, they turned that flicker into a flame. When I told my stepdaughter, I'm like, I'm never going to see you get married. Like, I'm going to miss all this. This is so unfair. And whatever happened, it was like, they just came to see me to say goodbye. And I tell them this all the time. They just came to see me to say goodbye, but they have no idea what that did for me. Like, it's another factor in saving me. And my husband never giving up for the person that, I have Fluoroquinolone toxicity. That's what did all this to me. But I also developed mast cell afterwards, which is very common for people that are Floxed. And my husband had my phone. I could no longer see. I couldn't even speak. You know how I speak to my husband? He'd ask me a question. This was yes, this was no. That's how we communicated. And he called this guy from Reddit. On Reddit, you don't want yourself to be known. And he said, please, can you just have a conversation with me? My wife's going to die. Because this guy said, tell your wife to stop focusing on being Floxed and focus on mast cell. That's what will save her. Because having mast cell is not allowing her to eat and all of this other stuff. So my husband, while I'm laying there on hospice, my husband's calling the doctors over and over. She needs this, she needs Chromalin, she needs that. And they wouldn't give him the medication. They were fighting back. And then he's like, you said these medications are benign. They're antihistamines, right? Or mast cell stabilizers. And he's like, frankly, she's going to die. And you say these medicines are benign. So what's the harm in giving them to her?
Right.
What does it matter?
Yeah.
So they gave me this medication called Chromalin. You've probably seen it in all my videos. Like I'm holding it up or I'm like, anyway, you put drops in water, and it was literally like one little drop in water and like one sip, because there I go choking again.
Right.
And after that, for a whole week, 1 week, 7 days, I was eating an Ensure pudding after having cromolyn for 1 week.
So what are you eating now?
I only eat 6 foods. I have mast cell very bad. All my food is still pureed, and I eat the same 6 foods every day.
What are those 6 foods?
Asparagus, cauliflower, chicken, coconut milk to blend all of that, gluten-free, oatmeal, and blueberries.
So is it all together in a cup and you just drink it?
Oh God, no. No. I do like chicken and cauliflower. It's like cat food. Looks like chicken.
Okay.
It's like plop, plop. And then chicken and asparagus later, and then I eat the oatmeal and blueberries like throughout the day.
So someone has to cook it and then we blend it.
My brother-in-law does all of that because
Okay.
my allergies are so bad. He makes all of my food. It's frozen. And then the people that take care of me heat it up under hot water and put it in a bowl for me.
Got you. Now, this, to me, you have pretty much care out 24/7.
I have to, yeah.
That's got to be pretty expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Is there programs out there that help you, or is it something you just have to kind of bear the burden of this forever? Or as long as you have to use it?
For the most part, you bear the burden yourself. The only reason why I've gotten this far is because I was planning on retiring at 50. And we were saving and investing and doing all kinds of stuff. I would still work after 50.
Sure.
But it would be a fun job.
And an option.
Yeah.
You have the option, yeah.
Yeah, so we were like, that was our focus. Don't spend money on anything and save, save, save. And it's all gone to this, and we've used our savings, sold stuff we have, sold everything we have for my care. He needs care now too.
Yeah.
I can't take care of him. So it went from one person needing care, which was mostly covered through the VA, to me. There really isn't good programs like that for someone that's not a veteran. In the hospital, I'm like, who's supposed to take care of me? They're like, your family. Yeah, right.
They're not even clinically trained to do this.
They're like, isn't your sister a nurse? Yes, but my sister has 3 kids. You think she's going to come take care of me 24/7? Like, they just wanted the burden to be on someone else. And I said, my husband can't help me. He can't take care of himself. And they're like, you got to figure it out yourself. So that's how we got 24/7 care. We just sold everything we had. I would not be here today if I didn't have this care. I wouldn't. There's no way. I can't do anything for myself.
That takes me back to what we were talking about before, and the idea that the average person, myself, whoever, we wouldn't even think to try to retire at 50. Do you think maybe, just maybe, there's God or whatever there is, because you're pretty big on your faith. I'm looking around. It's here. You're not claiming it as much, but it's here. I see it.
You should have seen it at my last house. Oh, God, it was like a church up in there.
Really? So
she's laughing because she knows it was everywhere.
So it is there.
Yeah.
So there has to be, to some degree, you being prepared for this moment. And when we always say, I've never seen anyone come back from this. And now it makes sense. I've never seen anyone have the ability to have this type of care, to up and have to go find your own apartment. Now, I live in Atlanta. I've been here for all of 2 hours. I went to CVS and some grocery store. I think I might have gotten 2 things. It was like $100. So everything here is expensive. I said, no, I'm good. I'm not buying anything else here. I'm going back home.
Yeah.
For you to have saved that much and be able to do what you've done, do you think that there's something there that prepared you for this? You didn't know it was coming, but there has to be something that got you ready for this position.
Probably. Yeah. So I was only 9 years away from that retirement. You know, I had spent, like my grandmother always said, work now, play later. So I was working. And between work and taking care of my husband, there wasn't much time for anything else. So I'm like, when I get 50, we'll be able to spend more time together. I won't be working 70 hours a week, and I'll do what I want to do. And I mean, here we are, but you're probably right that it happened for a reason.
So where are you now? Mentally, physically? I see you're in a wheelchair. You're not 60 pounds anymore at all.
No.
No.
Like 96, I think, was the last time.
So the chicken is working.
Yes. Plus I get some interesting NAET allergy treatment. So
okay.
where she says I'm going to gain weight, and I have gained weight. Okay. So it's probably that too. I don't know what she does, but Layla can attest to that. When I go in there and say, "Oh my God, I gained 3 pounds," she's like, "I know. I told you that was going to happen when you come see me." But it's not like medicine. I understand. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, now you know, like, I'm a huge advocate, and yeah. Sorry, I'm just thinking. I think for people to come out on the other side, you have to have a purpose. Mm-hmm. You don't have to be a big advocate like me. Whatever your purpose is, like whatever. It doesn't. Not everybody's purpose is the same, but I knew, like, for me, I'm sure just hearing my story, you know that I was pretty like go-getter person, yeah. Like type A personality, go, go, go. Sure. That fire in me all the time, and that didn't die. That's still there. And so that's been such a challenge, because this is still here, which I'm so thankful for, because most people that are Floxed have a lot of issues in that regard. But my big issues are here. So my mind's here, my body's all the way back there. And that's my big struggle. And I know I'm not meant to lay in that bed. I agree. And just sit there. Like, no. So you have to have a purpose, whatever it is. And that's what I tell everybody, because there are other people that are Floxed really bad too. Maybe not to the degree to me, but I've met people close, and they're like, "I just want to die." And I'm like, you have to find a purpose. Like I always say, what can you not live without? This is what I thought when I was on hospice. What can I not live without? What am I going to miss so bad when I'm gone? My kids and my husband. What is going to happen to Tim? Who's going to take care of him? Okay. Keep fighting, hang on as long as you can. So I say that to them, what is that for you? Whatever that is, it will keep you holding on. And I cannot tell you how many times people have sent me messages every day I get them. You save my life, you keep me going, and my slogan is, until there's nothing left. I keep saying that. I'm having a bad day. Tomorrow's a new day until there's nothing left. I tell myself that like 20 times a day, because I'm in so much pain. I'm sick of eating the same 6 foods. I want to be out there like normal, like other people, until there's nothing left, until there's nothing left. That's what I tell myself. And I focus on my advocacy, because that is how I channel my anger. From what has happened to me with the medical system, my anger, my trauma, that is how I've been able to, it's kind of therapeutic in a way. If you see my videos, I just let it all out and say what's on my mind, and in a way, it's actually therapeutic. So what can someone do who's in your position? How can they, without the money? Is it possible to do it without the capital? That's a good question, because it's not just about the money. You have to fight too. You gotta fight. You can have all the money in the world and peace out. Like, just go to sleep and just leave me here. So it's not just about the money, but I do know people that are getting by because they have people that take care of them, and there's no money involved. But like, a lot of them have spouses or partners that take care of them. I didn't have that. So I have to have the 24/7 care and have no family member that can come and take care of me. So, but there are other people that do, and there are other people that don't. So I don't know. While that is definitely a factor in my survival, because I would have literally had no care, none. It's not just about the money. You have to mentally be there to survive. I say that about hospice patients all the time. I've seen similar diagnosis, similar age, similar weight. It really is about, how bad do you want it? How bad do you want to be alive? The other part of it is your purpose, and lastly, who's supporting you. Because that helps you get up every day. If you say, I want to help my husband, I want to help my kids,
Those are all important. Is there a Floxed community that you go to kind of
There
help?
is. Mm-hmm.
What is that like?
And it's blown up since, I've been doing all this advocacy and stuff. Like, it's just a Floxed group that we all connect and talk every day. And
really,
yeah, there's forums, but people jump outside of the forums and talk to each other every single day.
Relationships.
And especially being on social media, I have so many people that contact me, and they know if they're watching, I get back to everybody. It might not be today, it might be 4 days from now, but everybody will hear back from me. Everybody.
You're better than me.
Yeah. It might take a while, but they will hear back from me. Because it's important, because I want them to know that they're heard. And the thing is that sometimes we are the best things for each other, because nobody understands what we're going through except each other. The pain, the crazy things that we think or feel. It's sometimes when you tell someone that hasn't been Floxed, they're like, they don't understand. So that we have, that common understanding. And, I don't know if how long you've been following me, but last year I did Fluoroquinolone Toxicity Awareness Day. I just said, hey, let's have a day for Fluoroquinolone Toxicity Awareness.
You just made this day.
I just made it up.
Okay, all right.
But we as a Floxed community, I had a poll. What day do you want this to be? What colors do you want it to be? What do you want it to be called? So everybody's involved. This thing was worldwide, October 22nd, 2024. We blew up social media, posting stories, videos. And you know how I know we did a good job? Because everybody started getting cut off from social media. It was like the Italy team was like, we lost Instagram. Germany's like, oh, we lost this. I'm like, I lost my TikTok. Because once you start posting, but the point is that we came together as a community. We had Zoom calls that day. All of us from all over the world were talking about being sick and our experiences. And then the point was, like, everybody is addicted to social media. So if your social media is flooded that day, someone is going to see something about fluoroquinolone toxicity and be better off for it. So there will be another one next year.
We're looking, and I'm going to help you with that too, by the way. And also, there is speaking of your social media and your impact and what you've been able to do, you got a call, right? You posted a video and you got an interesting call.
Yeah. You mean the FDA? I might as well say it because the videos are out there. When I first got on social media, I got asked to write a letter to the FDA about being Floxed. It was literally, we writing letters to the FDA campaign. So I said, okay, I did it overnight. And I was speaking into my phone. Back then, I couldn't see at all. My vision was so bad when I first got Floxed. Everything was like voice on my phone when I first got my phone back. So I read this letter. It was pretty much in one take, posted it on TikTok. And then I did a video a couple days later of me in the hospital bed. That thing went viral. And then like 2 weeks after that initial letter, the FDA called me. And they were like, this is Joy from the FDA. I was like, who? Oh my God, what do I say? I'm on the spot.
And why are they calling me? How did you get my number? Right.
Yeah, so I said everything that was on my mind. Like I said earlier, I'm lucky that I'm a quick thinker, because I said everything that I had to say. Like, why isn't there any ramifications for my doctor not following the FDA guidelines? Your guidelines are that that fluoroquinolone should be used as last resort when no other treatment options are available. It's clear. Since 2016, I took that medication in 2021. I was prescribed that as first line. How come nothing happens to my doctor? The response, well, that's because we have no power for enforcement at the state level. I was like, so you can put out a black box warning and nobody has to read them and do anything about it? Well, kind of. They're there for a reason, like to protect people. I said, yeah, but they're not. If the doctors don't know them, or the doctors are blatantly ignoring them, or for whatever reason it's not known and they don't follow it, there's zero ramifications. I guarantee you, if there was a ramification for a doctor not following this protocol, people would not be getting prescribed fluoroquinolones as first line.
Why do you think you were prescribed it as first line?
She told me. when I went back after I got sick and I brought the black box warnings, I was a little bit more educated then.
Sure.
And I said, look at all the things it causes, central nervous system disruptions, you know? And she's like, I know what it causes. And I'm like, whoa, I'm just trying to have a conversation with you. I want to make sure this doesn't happen to anybody else. This is supposed to be prescribed as last resort only.
Mm-hmm.
And I was told that the office has always prescribed it as first line. They will continue to prescribe it as first line because nobody has ever had a reaction like me before. Now, to me, that's blatant disregard of the regulation. Like, I'm showing it to you and you're saying, basically, I don't care. No one's ever had a reaction like you. I said, when I first got sick, you said it was from Cipro. I know. And it's in my charts, adverse effects of medication. I said, so you know that, but now what's happened to me? Well, I don't know. Well, the drug's out of your body by now. I don't know what's going on. Because she doesn't understand what fluoroquinolone toxicity is. And every time I would try to explain, she would write in my notes, patient still says she's floxed, with these around the word floxed.
So now I have to ask the question, and you can, however you feel about that. I'm not a huge politics person. I believe in people. That's pretty much the beginning and end of my political conversations. However, what we're experiencing now is we're in a part of an administration that is pretty much cutting that entire department. We have lawyers that work in that department that keep certain pharmaceutical companies from doing certain things. We're getting to a point now, in my opinion, where they will even take labels off of what these side effects will be. How do you feel about that? As someone who's a byproduct of what should have been done the right way.
And that's why this advocacy has been so big for me, that I'm telling everybody, you're going to have to be your own doctor. You're going to have to do everything for yourself because nobody's going to do it for you.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to tell you about the black box warning. Everybody points the finger at somebody else. Oh, doctors don't know about that. The pharmacist should have known. This person should have known. Well, nobody knew in my case, okay? And if you research, just a quick Google search, yes, it says there's issues with fluoroquinolones, but you really, really have to dig and go into the FDA documents to see how dangerous these antibiotics are. Most people aren't going to dig like that, you know? So it's just, and I say double check, triple check everything your doctor says. Don't trust them, because that's what I did. I blindly trusted my doctor. But in today's Western medical system, you can't do that anymore. You have to be your own advocate. You have to take care of your own care. Unfortunately, it's like feast or famine. Like, it's a wild, wild west out there, and you have to protect yourself. So,
if you do anything differently, what would you do?
Well, I would have not taken Cipro.
Right. Fair.
And definitely. And I always wonder, like, when I asked her that, like, was that some sixth sense in me? But I was nervous about taking antibiotics. But I took that. I wish that I had not stayed in the Western medical system after I got sick, because they made me sicker. I was getting, you know, NSAIDs through the IV. Again, NSAIDs are what's the word I'm looking for? Contraindicated. And I was getting them through the IV. I was taking them by mouth. I was getting MRIs with gadolinium. These are things that are toxic, and you're already poisoned by a fluoroquinolone. I was in search of a diagnosis of anything that the Western medical system would acknowledge, right? So it's like, diagnose me with anything, so like you'll pay attention to me.
Yeah.
That was the wrong thinking. I eventually knew what I had, and I needed to just stick with that and find the people that would help me, other than trying to stay in that system. They literally made me sicker. I believe if I just broke off from them at the beginning, I don't think I would have been on hospice 5 months later.
We interviewed someone about 2 weeks ago, and she had sickle cell. And when I tell you verbatim, word for word, she said the same thing you just said.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost scary to me as someone who's, I don't want to say on the other side of it, but somewhat on that side of it, to hear that it gives me chills, Because if this is what happens with some regulation, what happens when we start to strip away regulation? Is it really, in your opinion, people over profit, right? Or profit over people? Because we even go back to one of the, I guess, craziest incidents we've had in America as of late, outside of the pandemic, of course, was one of the CEOs of United Healthcare was shot. I believe it was in New York. And the reaction on social media was almost excited. To your point, are people fed up? What do we do next? Where do we go from here?
They're fed up. They're sick. It's definitely profit over patients for sure. I mean, how do you explain a 15-minute visit when a doctor doesn't even pay attention to you? And treating the symptoms and never looking at a root cause. Everybody, you've heard the statistics. People are the most sick they ever have been now than at any other time. And aren't we so medically advanced that that shouldn't be the case? You get more money when people are sick. And so I don't have any faith or trust in the system. I don't know how or if it will ever get fixed or how. I just know that, you know, big pharma. I always get censored when I say big pharma.
They won't get censored here.
Okay.
Trust me.
So big pharma is very protected, and nobody beats them. So I don't know. I don't see how any of this is going to change. I was on a podcast called What the Health with Emily at America's Nurse. And she told me, she was a nurse for many years. She told me that, I don't know if it's correct or not, but 75% of the curriculum is funded by big pharma in the medical system. So when you think about that, you're like, oh boy, they're trained in medicine, and, you know, and medicine doesn't fix everything.
Well, I didn't know that 75%.
Yeah.
It seems a little high to me, but it's possible. The other side of that is, what are they really training them on? Because if I'm spending, I always say, look at research. If there's a study going on, I want to know who's funding the research. Because who's funding the research would tell you the point of the study. The desired outcome that they want is what you're going to get. So if they're providing this much capital for medical students to get through, what's the reason? And to your point, it would be to push medications. Right. So now we're pushing recovery versus prevention.
Right. And I say, why can't my functional medicine doctor be covered under insurance? And she said, because we mostly prescribe supplements. We do give some prescriptions, but we try to stay away from them as much as possible and do natural approaches like food and supplements. And that's why it's not covered by insurance. That doesn't make sense. It really doesn't make sense. It's just so broken. And once people get profits over people, you're not going to give that up. It's just going to get worse. Greed and more greed, you know? So
I don't think we'll ever fix that, but we can fix and help someone else who's in your position. Can you give them 3 last things or words of encouragement, anything that'll make them feel like they can keep going, even if they don't have the family around, the people around? How can they find their passion?
I would say, for me, I think you know what your passion is deep down. I think everybody kind of knows. You just have to listen to yourself. And in those moments when you are alone in your hospital bed with your thoughts, that's the time to be real with yourself and to be honest. You figure out a lot when you're laying there in bed by yourself. And I think that's one way you can find your passion, is thinking about your whole life and what it is that drives you. What drove you before you got sick? You know, what will drive you afterwards? Like, what are you capable of doing afterwards? What, you know what I mean? Like, maybe your passion before you can't physically do now. Maybe that needs to be altered in some way. You know what I mean? So I think that's what it was for me. Like, my passion and my purpose. I've always been someone that takes care of other people and fights for other people. Always. And so when I was laying in that hospital bed, now I was thinking about me. And none of it mattered anymore because I was going to die. But then when I sat there and was like, if I make it out of this, what am I going to do? What did I do before? That's what I'm doing now. So I think that's one way. And like, here's a story. When I, this is going to sound really bad.
It's not. It's fine.
I said, before I die, I want to have my death foods.
Explain.
See, sounds bad, doesn't it? So my favorite foods that I wanted to eat before I died, but I can't eat and I can't swallow. So one of them is McDonald's ice cream with this hot fudge on it, right?
It is pretty good.
Yeah.
The machines are always broken in the end, but it is pretty good.
I don't know why, but I like that.
Yeah, it's good.
So everyone would come to my house with that, and I just stick it in my mouth and spit it out.
Yeah.
Then my dad, I love donuts. I would probably give a limb right now to have a donut. But he brought me a cinnamon roll, coffee roll it's called. And I bit off a little piece, like, you can swallow it. Nope, abort. But I had the taste in my mouth. Cheesecake that my grandmother used to buy. Swish around in my mouth. And then after the cromolyn, I swallowed that ice cream. I had to go a little bit in the microwave. I swallowed it. And then I said to my husband, hey, if I'm actually going to survive now, I should eat non-death foods. So I was like, what should I do? Mm-hmm. And we were like, I said, how about baby food? Because I can't live off of Ensure. Mm-hmm. Baby food was a no-go. No, go. That stuff is gross. Nasty. So the aide I had at the time, we started blending food, and we knew more about mast cell at the time. So I needed low oxalate, low lectin, low histamine food.
You know a lot.
Yeah. Blend them and try them out and see if I have a reaction. So that's how I started eating my food, right? So it's like that transition that you make, like from my death foods to literally a week later, my non-death foods, right? Because I knew I had a chance. Mm-hmm. And if you want to be here, you will take that chance, right? If you have the little flicker, like I say, and you have the opportunity to have anything turn it into a flame, like for me, it was my stepchildren, my husband. For someone else watching this, I don't know what that is. Everybody's thing is different. Try to get that flame. Try to get that hope. Try to get that purpose. You know, try to, if you have, when you have those moments of hope, go with it. You know, because then you see, even if it's temporarily, go with it. Mm-hmm. Don't just get stuck in the mind that you aren't going to live, right? Because I went, okay, let's make my food and my pureed crap. I hate eating it to this day, right? But it was like, and then I would have setbacks. Oh, my life sucks. And then I have a new food. Okay, so every time you get that light, go into the light before you get sucked back into the darkness, because this is very dark. Keep one foot in, one foot out is what I say. One foot in the light, one in the dark. Because once you go in the dark, I don't think there's any hope once you're really, really gone. So, yeah. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Does that give people hope? Please have hope. Don't give up. I'm going to say, until there's nothing left is what I always say. My grandmother always used to say, no matter how bad your day is, go to bed, wake up, and tomorrow's a new day. So that's what I say. Tomorrow's a new day. Tomorrow's a new day. And sometimes I wake up and say, shit, today's worse than yesterday. But keeping that in your mind, sometimes I wake up and today's a better day, right? You just have to, if you want to move on, you will find a way. That's all. That's the only way I know how to say it. Like, I really thought I was going to die. I really thought that was the end. Why would I pick out my dress for my coffin? And here I am, like, because deep down, I really wanted to survive. I didn't want to die at 41, 42, whatever. You know what I mean? I just didn't feel like I had any way out.
Well, I appreciate it, Talia. This has been the most enlightening, funny, yet informative interview we've ever done. And I don't think that I'll ever be the same after this.
Oh.
I don't, because we do ped hospice as well, so children. And even that is totally different than experiencing you. as a 41-year-old, 41 at the time, 45, a mother, a wife, an IT specialist with a master's degree. Here now you are, in your wheelchair, in your hospital bed, but still fighting. You're on Instagram every day, telling your story.
Yep.
And until someone actually meets you in person, they actually can't feel what I feel when I'm sitting next to you. Because online, you are a shining, bright star. You really are.
Thank you.
And when I walked into the door today, I said, I get it. You instantly get it. I see why so many people are attracted to her and why they want to be in her presence. And I just want to thank you for allowing me to spend some time with you today.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for everything, Talia.
Thank you.